In the early years of the 19th century, the Gulf of Mexico was a vast expanse of water teeming with opportunity, danger, and adventure. Among the many figures who navigated its waters, one man stood out: Jean Lafitte, a notorious pirate, privateer, and smuggler whose life was woven into the very fabric of the region's history. His story is an intricate tapestry of ambition, loyalty, and cunning, marked by significant moments that shaped not only his destiny, but also the fate of the burgeoning United States. Born around 1780 in the French colony of Saint-Domingue, Lafitte was the son of a wealthy merchant. His early years were steeped in the culture of the Caribbean, where the rhythms of trade and the whispers of rebellion filled the air. The tumult of the Haitian Revolution forced his family to flee, and they settled in New Orleans, a city alive with the spirit of the New World and the promise of fortune. It was here that Lafitte's destiny began to take shape, as he became immersed in a world of commerce, smuggling, and piracy. By the early 1800s, Lafitte had established himself as a prominent figure in the port of New Orleans, operating alongside his brother Pierre. They ran a successful business, but it was not long before the allure of the high seas and the thrill of piracy beckoned to him. The brothers began to engage in smuggling operations, taking advantage of the lucrative trade routes that crisscrossed the Gulf. Their ships, swift and agile, became notorious for eluding the authorities, and Lafitte's reputation as a cunning strategist grew. The War of 1812 marked a turning point in Lafitte's life. As tensions escalated between the United States and Great Britain, Lafitte saw an opportunity to align himself with the American cause. The British, recognizing the strategic importance of New Orleans, sought to capture the city, and Lafitte's knowledge of the local waterways and his fleet of privateers made him an invaluable asset. He approached the American forces, offering his services and those of his men. General Andrew Jackson, a fierce and determined leader, accepted Lafitte's offer, recognizing that the pirates' intimate knowledge of the region could turn the tide in favor of the Americans. The Battle of New Orleans became a defining moment for Lafitte. As the British forces advanced, Lafitte and his men fought valiantly alongside Jackson's troops. The battle, fought on January 8, 1815, was a resounding victory for the Americans, and Lafitte emerged as a hero in the eyes of many. His contributions were celebrated, and he was hailed as a defender of the city. However, the victory was bittersweet. The Treaty of Ghent, signed just days before the battle, effectively ended the war, and Lafitte found himself in a precarious position. Despite his loyalty to Jackson and the American cause, Lafitte's past as a pirate could not be easily erased. The United States government, wary of his reputation, sought to rid itself of the pirate threat. Lafitte faced the possibility of arrest and imprisonment, and he was forced to flee New Orleans. With a heavy heart, he left the city that had become his home, retreating to the remote bayous of Louisiana, where he could regroup and plot his next move. In the bayous, Lafitte's legend only grew. He established a new base of operations on the island of Galveston, Texas, where he continued his smuggling and piracy. The island became a haven for outlaws and adventurers, drawn by the promise of wealth and the thrill of the chase. Lafitte's charisma and leadership attracted a loyal crew, and his fleet of ships became a formidable force on the Gulf waters. He was not just a pirate, he was also a shrewd businessman, engaging in trade and negotiating with various factions, including the Spanish and the burgeoning American government. Lafitte's exploits were not without consequence. The United States, determined to eliminate piracy from its waters, launched campaigns against Lafitte and his men. In response, Lafitte became a master of evasion, using the intricate waterways of the Gulf Coast to outmaneuver his pursuers. His knowledge of the land was unparalleled, and he utilized the swamps and marshes to his advantage, leading his enemies on wild chases that often ended in frustration. One of the most significant moments in Lafitte's life occurred in the summer of 1817, when he faced a formidable adversary, the U.S. Navy. A naval expedition, led by Commodore Daniel Patterson, was dispatched to capture Lafitte and dismantle his operations. Lafitte, ever the tactician, prepared for the confrontation. He fortified his position on Galveston Island, gathering his men and their ships for what would become one of the most famous encounters in his storied career. As the U.S. Navy approached, Lafitte's men were ready. They had fortified their defenses, constructing barricades and preparing their cannons. The ensuing battle was fierce, with cannon fire echoing across the waters. Lafitte's forces fought bravely, employing guerrilla tactics and using their knowledge of the land to launch surprise attacks. The battle raged for days, but ultimately, Lafitte's forces were outmatched. Realizing the futility of resistance, Lafitte made the difficult decision to abandon Galveston, retreating to the safety of the bayous once more. Though he had lost the battle, Lafitte's spirit remained unbroken. His reputation as a cunning and resourceful leader only grew, and he continued to operate his smuggling business, finding new ways to evade capture. In the years that followed, he established a network of loyal allies, engaging in trade with both American and foreign merchants. He became a symbol of defiance against the encroaching authority of the United States, embodying the spirit of freedom that characterized the Gulf Coast. Lafitte's story took another turn in the early 1820s as the political landscape shifted. The Spanish government, recognizing the threat posed by American expansionism, sought to regain control over the territory of Texas. In a surprising move, Lafitte was approached by Spanish officials who offered him a position as a privateer in exchange for his loyalty. Seeing an opportunity to regain influence and power, Lafitte accepted the offer, transforming from a pirate into a legitimate agent of the Spanish crown. This new role allowed Lafitte to navigate the complexities of international politics, and he found himself in the midst of a power struggle between the United States and Spain. He used his position to broker deals and negotiate trade agreements, all while maintaining his reputation as a cunning strategist. However, the tides of fortune were shifting once again, and Lafitte soon found himself at odds with both the Americans and the Spanish. In 1823, the United States government intensified its efforts to eradicate piracy from the Gulf. Lafitte, now a target of both American and Spanish authorities, faced mounting pressure. The once mighty pirate found himself in a precarious position, forced to navigate a treacherous landscape of shifting alliances and betrayals. Despite his best efforts, the walls began to close in around him. In a final bid for freedom, Lafitte made the decision to leave Galveston and seek refuge in the Caribbean. He set sail for the island of Cuba, hoping to find a new life away from the prying eyes of the authorities. However, fate had other plans. In 1825, Lafitte's ship was caught in a violent storm, and he was forced to abandon his vessel. The storm raged for days, and Lafitte and his crew struggled to survive. Ultimately, they were rescued by a passing ship, but Lafitte's fortunes had changed irrevocably. With his dreams of a new life shattered, Lafitte faded from the annals of history. The man who had once been a symbol of defiance and adventure became a ghost, his legacy reduced to whispers and legends. Yet, even in obscurity, Lafitte's impact on the Gulf Coast and its history endured. He had played a pivotal role in the early years of the United States, navigating the complex waters of politics and trade, and leaving behind a legacy that would be remembered for generations. In the years that followed, tales of Jean Lafitte continued to circulate, evolving into folklore and myth. He became a figure of intrigue, a romanticized hero of the high seas, embodying the spirit of adventure that defined an era. His contributions to the defense of New Orleans during the War of 1812 were celebrated, and his exploits as a pirate and privateer became the stuff of legends. Today, Lafitte is remembered not just as a pirate, but as a complex figure who straddled the line between lawlessness and loyalty. His story is a testament to the tumultuous times in which he lived, a reflection of a world in flux, where the boundaries between right and wrong were often blurred. From the bustling streets of New Orleans to the treacherous waters of the Gulf, Lafitte's legacy endures, a reminder of the indomitable spirit of adventure and the pursuit of freedom that defined an era. His story is one of resilience, ambition, and the relentless pursuit of destiny, a narrative that continues to captivate the imagination of those who dare to dream of the high seas.